Welcome back to the Battery Podcast. I am Aidan,
And I'm Jack.
and we are here to get you ready for the Cannons homecoming weekend, what we have been waiting for all season. Cannons are back in Harvard Stadium. They're with a doubleheader Friday night, the 5th of July, against the California Redwoods, and then Saturday, July 6th, the game that we have all been waiting for, except for since it happened 2 weeks ago, Cannons and Waterdogs. Um, certainly, I think Boston's biggest rival, and I would say the biggest rivalry in the PLL right now.
Oh yeah.
We got a double header, and we got a double header of guests for you as well. We've got Kyle and DJ from Outside the Box. Kyle being a Dogs fan and DJ being a Woods fan. It made perfect sense. So we are so excited to talk to them. We had a fantastic conversation. Yeah, just can't. So excited to chop it up and talk about this upcoming incredible weekend of games we got.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's gonna be great. Conversation is great. I don't think we need to labor the point anymore. Let's just kick it over to him.
Yeah. All right. Here's Kyle and DJ. All right. Thank you very much to the Outside the Box boys, Kyle and DJ, for coming on with us. Talk about homecoming weekend. We've got, one Philly fan, one Redwoods fan. So it really works out perfectly for all parties here. But that won't be true after the weekend. Someone's going home a loser. Hopefully the Redwoods and Waterdogs, but we'll see. I will never not take a shot at Philadelphia. Yeah, guys, thanks for sitting down and talking with us. It's going to be a fantastic weekend.
Thanks for having us back on. Are we the first recurring guests?
You are, yeah. You are the first repeat guests.
Put that one in the column for us, Deej.
One more. Just tally off there.
Yeah,
I think this weekend is going to be much better for everybody else here but me.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. That's my big concern is that Redwoods end up being a trap game, just with all the excitement around Boston, Philly, and that just obviously, the Woods have not been as great this year, but top to bottom, the roster is still so good. Like there's so many good players on every team in the league, and that includes the Redwoods. So we just saw Atlas were looking unstoppable, and then all of a sudden the Whips take them down. So Redwoods might look like the team that gets trodden over, but then do they steal one here? I certainly hope not, and I'm not going to predict that because I am always going with Boston, but that does have me a little concerned if I'm going to be honest.
Well, I mean, you guys unlocked a new wrinkle in your offense and just figured out how to splash twos from every player on your roster last week, which was absolutely to see our guy Ryan Drenner not only one but two bombs. I was like, what did they put in this man's water, going into this game? Because Ryan Drenner is not known for splashing twos. He's somebody who, gets those dirty goals, a la, Jake Carlson with the Whips for so many years.
He also wasn't known for being a mini in general. That guy is a chameleon. We've talked about it before, Aidan. It's just crazy how he is able to change his game to whatever the team needs. You always talk about, guy, you want that guy to do whatever the team needs. And Drenner not only does that, but is good at it too. That he can do whatever the team needs.
Yeah, I bet if they really needed him to play D mid, he'd probably do an amazing job at that too. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, because that means something's gone very wrong for the Cannons. But yeah, he's such a chameleon. Let's kick it over to the Redwoods for a second. DJ, what's gone wrong? Why are they the last wins team? Not to just like, I'm just like, they're better than that, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I want to say yes, but we talked about it a little bit on our pod when we recorded earlier. The problem is the offense.
Yeah.
Like, sure, the defense lost Eddie Glazner and like Garrett Eppo, but like you look at like how they're playing this year, they're giving Jack Kelly shots he can see and save, and he's making a lot of saves. TD's giving them the ball, but when you're turning it over and not putting it in the back of the net, you're playing a lot of defense, which means you're gonna let up a handful of goals. That it's been the same problem for the last 4 years, 5 years. Honestly, I would even go all the way back to year 1.
Yeah.
They're a very dodge-heavy offense, and the ball dies in sticks. The one thing you can't do in the PLL is let the ball die in a stick, and it happens just too much on the Redwoods offense to where they're not effective. You know, their offense has been, let's try and initiate from the top. If there's nothing there, let's kick it to Rob and Ryder with 12 seconds left in the shot clock and hope they can make something happen. Like, that's not good offense. And that's what's holding the team back. Like, defenses are just too good for you to be a dodge-heavy offense like that.
Yeah, I've seen so many times this year, it feels like Rob Pennell's behind the goal, like yelling at everyone and trying to make magic happen. And they just can't have a full season of a good midfield offense. Like, they traded, Jones for Dennis, who are, it's very like for like there. They had, Henningberg never really clicked as a midi, I don't think. Garnsey obviously can make magic, but not when he's going 1-on-6. Levi Anderson is not playing for them anymore. Never really did. Degnon's not a dodger, but man, can he shoot?
Yeah. Same thing with Charlie and Cole. Like, they've done great dodging and have gotten opportunities, but they can't put it in the back of the net. Like, that helps, but it doesn't at the same time. I think the only thing that helps the Redwoods coming into this weekend is that the Cannons have only been able to beat them once, and that was week 7 of 2023.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Every other matchup with the Cannons, the Redwoods have found a way to come out on top. So, like, this is kind of like that opportunity for them to get in and be like, hey, like, we have good history against this team. This is the team that we feel comfortable playing against. Let's kind of just let loose and see what happens. But on the other end, they could be very tense and just be like, hey, like, trying to figure it out, and being overly tense causes you to make more mistakes oftentimes.
Yeah, and you got to figure the longer that the losing streak continues, the more pressure it'll be, the worse they're going to spiral.
At this point, I'm cool with tanking for CJ Kirsch.
Oh, that's true.
We can just put him at X, and he replaces Rob, but is like younger and is like almost a flashback of old Rob, where he was like moving, with intention, and not that he doesn't now, but like you can obviously see that he's older and like doesn't have the same athleticism as he used to.
Right. Yeah, have a 24-year-old do it instead of a 34-year-old.
Exactly. Like, it's simply just that. Not that Rob Pennell isn't good enough to still be in the league, but he's reaching that point where his athleticism is caught up. Like, his age is caught up with him, and he can't keep up with, JT Giles Harris and Mason Woodward and all these young defensemen that are coming into the league.
Right, especially when there's not much happening off ball for him, that he has to like dodge, draw, slide, and pass off that.
Yeah, he's got Westberg. That's it.
Yeah.
You can dodge and find Westberg inside, 100% chance it's going in. It's going in.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, he doesn't really have anything.
Yeah. And they picked up and repicked up a few interesting box guys. So they got Alex Simmons, who won Rookie of the Year in the NLL, and then Ryan Lee coming back. I know he had a lot of injuries. I was so excited to see them play, and I hope we do at some point this year, because I think both of them, like, I know Dan Ressi had a tweet from like 2021 that just said, if you're reading this tweet, you could average 1.6 assists a game playing with Ryan Lee. Like, he is so good at finding amazing opportunities to put the ball in the net. And Alex Simmons too. He had like 90, 80 points or something as a rookie in the NLL. Now they play a few more games, but still. I really hope. And clearly Nat doesn't see something, but
you don't just luck into Rookie of the Year in the NLL either. Like, you showcase your talents in such a condensed space that
you have to be an amazing shooter to score on those goalies.
My bigger
thing, that like 40 times.
My bigger thing is Alex Simmons. Like, I feel like he should be playing. He's a speed initiator from the midfield. Yeah. Like, we have Nakai, but Nakai hasn't been that offensive threat that he's been the last few years. There isn't that speed factor we had with Jules. Like, you have to replace that. You have to find a way to win matchups. Do I like the big shooting guys that stretch out the field? Yeah. But if we don't have anything to offset that, like, I think very much midfield has to be in midfield and attack has to be like a running back room. You have your third down back. You have your speed back. You have your power back. You have your stretch back. Like, when you're looking at a lacrosse offense, you want to have your pure shooter, you want to have your quarterback, you want to have your strong dodgers and your deep range dodgers, but you also want to have a speed dodger that's simply just gonna beat a matchup with pure speed and cause chaos. The Redwoods don't have that right now. When you look across the league, everybody else has got at least one of those guys, unless you're chaos and you got like 4. But everybody's got at least one except the Redwoods, and I think that's really showing, that they're missing that. But the only thing keeping them in it is their deep threat. They do have Romar and a couple other guys that are shooting from deep, and that's keeping them in games.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, to the Chaos game, they were so close to getting the win there. And it was just really a freaky goal that Jack Kelly lost in the sun that cost them. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happens when you're
that and the
ball going off the
reset. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That they didn't call and they didn't review either. It's like, come on.
I know. Yeah. And adding, I think it would have been like 6-7 seconds is definitely enough to get a little more offense going. Yeah, they've been.
Plus, they haven't gotten Chris Gray going. At all. Like the fact that you,
I think
traded the number 5 pick in the draft to go and get a guy like that because you know what he's capable of offensively, and then it just hasn't gotten going yet. Is time to start like putting out like a yellow flag. Like we're not exactly.
No,
flag yet.
Red flags are out.
Red flags are out as a team, I would say. But for Chris Gray, it's concerning, but it's not the number 1 concern.
Sure. Red flags are out everywhere on this team. I'll tell you.
He's the most pessimistic sports fan ever.
Yeah.
So take that with a grain of salt.
Clearly.
It did not
or in
help
his case, take the whole bag of salt.
Yeah.
Growing up in Michigan did not help. Like we didn't always have great sports teams here. And
the Lions.
Pessimistic. Yeah. Like Lions. I mean, the Red Wings had their run, but
the Tigers had a couple good years.
Tigers had a couple good years, but other than that,
Pistons.
They're bad. Pistons, they ruined it not going and drafting Carmelo Anthony. They've been bad ever since then. Like Michigan football is up and down, so it's just like
national champion.
Hey, we're on the up right now. It's gonna come crashing again, and don't worry.
Probably now that Harbaugh left.
I like Sharon. I think he's going to do an okay job. But yeah, the bigger thing here is I do think alarms are out, but it's more of like we have to figure this out alarm. More of like
a SpongeBob wee woo, if you will.
Yeah, like things aren't working here. How can we fix them? How not reinvent the wheel, but we got to get the cog going again. My biggest thing is I think you run Westberg out of the box every shift, and you just immediately send him to the inside. And then you're pairing him with 2 different middies, and you slide Chris Gray back down at attack. I don't think Chris Gray can be coming out of the box. He's not effective there, not getting enough touches. But Westberg is somebody who you can run out of the box every play. And in your ride, he's just coming off to get your LSM on, so he's fresh to go every rep. And then you just take him inside, so you still get that inside presence that you want from him without, taking away Chris Gray's ability to affect the game.
Yeah, because you think of, Berg, obviously a tremendous inside finisher, but in transition, you want Chris Gray at the point because he can shoot from, outside the 2-point line, certainly, but anywhere inside it.
And we saw his vision last year with Jeff Teat on the fast break. If he doesn't have the shot, someone's open and he's going to get it to him. So I personally like that idea, but I do understand having Westberg down there. He rides hard in the ride. And he's a cleanup guy. He finishes everything inside. He has all the good points to be an inside attackman, but there's ways to take advantage of what he has to offer while also still bolstering what else you have.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. Listen, if the losing streak continues, I'm sure we will see that at some point. And I hope it's sooner rather than later. Not sooner as in this week, ideally 2 weeks from now in Fairfield, where I'll also be at with my Redwoods fan friend. Because, you're right. Like it is too good of a team, and if what they're doing clearly is not working, so you hope Nat St. Laurent is willing to try anything. Bringing Gray on, Simmons on, maybe making a trade if they need. I don't know if you feel that they need to change some personnel.
No, I think the person more so we need to change how we have guys reserved. and like who's on the active like game day roster versus 25 and that kind of thing. Like at this point, you're 0-3. Start shoveling some different guys through the rotation and see what package of guys works.
Let's also not forget, like, the Redwoods have played 3 games this year without arguably their best defensive player on the roster. Owen Grant's been out since the beginning of the year.
That's true.
That's a huge, quite literally in a physical sense and in a just like present sense, loss that they don't have right now.
Yeah, that's true. It's the same. Like the Cannons defense has obviously they've been winning some games, but without Keelty, especially week 1, that was a rough transition.
And even still, I think that the defense has been shaky without Keelty. That Keelty, obviously, he's the captain of the team. He's so clearly the captain of the defense. He's the guy that communicates. And, Eppel and Jan are fantastic defenders. But, Deej, you know that very well. Glazner was the guy directing Eppel for all those years. Eppel's not used to not having someone direct him. And so I think, in Maryland, Jan also wasn't the vocal leader on the defense. So you have those 2 guys that now it's like, who is the leader of the defense? Who's the one that's calling out the slide packages? Who's the one that is seeing the field? I guess, you have Curse back in cage that can help a little bit with that, but it really seems like it needs to be by committee with the Cannons this year. But that almost is a detriment, I think, when you have that just by the committee, because then it's like, who is going to take the call this time? And then, guys might be stepping on each other's toes. And so then they step away and then no one does it. Like, what is it? In baseball, when all 3 guys are running out to catch the pop-up, some guys are running in, some guys are running out. And so then they're like, oh, the other guy's going to get it. And then it just drops. I feel like that's what the communication looks like, that no one's sure who's supposed to take the lead. So then no one really takes the lead.
I will say, after Carolina, I was in the press conference with Coach Holman, and he brought that point up where Garrett actually went up to him and said, hey, like, I'm not used to being the guy calling out, all the signals and everything. That's not where I'm coming from, but I have to be better at doing that, and I'm going to be better at doing that. And I think you saw that improvement, in Philly. You've seen it now against the Archers last week. And I think that's just like an accountability thing on Garrett Eppel's part to be like, okay, even at this stage of my career, I need to get better. And to go to your head coach and say, like, hey, I'm not used to this, but even at, whatever he is, 29, 30 years old, like, I'm going to do what needs to be done to get better to help this team win, I think is a huge sign in just the growth of Garrett Eppel, the player. And I think it's going to pay off big time, especially with that loss.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, hopefully it just makes them, better communicators and a better defense when Keelty does come back next year. It's awful to lose him before the season even starts. And then, by your token, same with Owen Grant. Remind me what his injury was.
I think it was NLL related, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Because he was on the PUP list, and I think he's just been out with that. I think Nat told us after the draft it was him kind of just getting healthy from an injury that he sustained during the NLL season. I don't know when he'll be back per se. Hopefully sooner rather than later for the Redwoods' sake, just to get, an elite caliber player on that defense as well and kind of get some guys back into normal positions. And I think having OG as one of your LSMs is, you can't replace that.
For sure.
Right. Well, talking about guys that are going to be out for a little bit, news coming out. What was it? Was it today or yesterday that the news dropped about Pete Cav going on IR?
Today.
That was, I guess it's not a surprise, really. Obviously he was out last week. He had injury history, an absolute grind of a college season to come straight in, but definitely tough to, lose the first round pick. And it seems like he didn't do much week 1, but that also was just a whirlwind of a week for him. Seemed to get his feet under him a little bit against Maryland in week 2, and then now to just be out for who
It's got to
knows
be at
how
least 3.
long.
Yeah.
So it's retroactive to June 25th.
June 25th. So this will
starting
be
with last week.
second
So
week.
this will be the second week. Luckily, All Stars is next week after your guys' homecoming weekend. So that gives him an additional week, I believe.
Right.
And then you either decide, do you want to hold him out in Fairfield or do you bring him back then? I think it was the best case scenario to put him on IR now rather than wait. That way, doesn't play last week. It's retroactive then, so that's your week 1 where he's off his feet already. This week it sucks obviously because it is homecoming week. You don't get to showcase your number 1 pick. But I think going into All-Star and having that additional rest there, where even if PCAV was healthy, I don't necessarily think he was making the All-Star team this year, and that's no slight at him. It's just the whirlwind, like you said, and he even brought that up, and Coach Holman brought that up in Carolina, where the words Coach Holman used were, "I fed him to the Sharks week 1." So I mean, he was going to be off his feet a little bit anyway. So I think it was like perfect storm for him to kind of just like, all right, let's reset, let's recalibrate, get healthy, and have as high caliber of a second half of the season as I possibly can.
Yeah. I think we've seen, I know Schellenberger was dealing with an injury for a lot of his college season, and he's missed some time this year as well. I got to imagine most of these rookies, especially the star rookies who are really, I mean, and every guy that's drafted in the PLL was a star in college, that they're carrying something, especially if they made it all the way to championship weekend. So Schellenberger might be an all-star because he's playing with Jeff Teat, and that's a really easy way to rack up points. But you hope maybe he either isn't voted or declines. O'Neal, I don't know. I mean, he's such a physical freak, but
they're both.
He had one.
They'll both be there.
Quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. BO's carrying something. He was carrying the team on his back.
Yeah.
Against
right,
the
yeah.
Archers.
Probably some lower back stuff. Probably some leg stuff.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's a little bit different with Pat Cav because I feel like he was a long-term pick.
Yeah.
Like he was in the future kind of pick, like knowing you have Marcus who's a little bit older and like that kind of thing. Like they weren't necessarily needing him this year. Like you look at some of the other first round or like early draft picks, like those teams drafted them and needed them to play. So like he has the opportunity to sit and like go on the IR and it's not detrimental to the team.
Oh, absolutely.
No. I mean, he is good playing from up top, so I think that he can play out of the box if that's what the team needs, but obviously everyone knows what he can do at attack, and I think that is his long-term spot. And Matt Cav is also getting up there in age too, and he didn't even play last week because he just hasn't had it this year. So I could even see Pat taking over for Matt next year if the season goes the way that it has so far for Matt.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think I've said that on a previous episode that I don't know how hot of a take it is that Pat will replace his older brother at some point, either this year or next. Because he's just got a lot more left in the tank. And again, no shade to Matt Cavanaugh. He's had an incredible career, and obviously thank him for winning the Champ Series. But
just like you said, Deej, that Father Time catches up to you. It catches up to Rob, and it might be catching up to Matt right now.
Yeah, especially, and this is it's a concern I've had for both Cav brothers. Is they just play such a physical game for being a pretty undersized guy. That I mean, Cav, that whole family like takes a beating when they play, and they dish it out when they're riding. But I mean, Pat Cav got beat to hell last year,
and the year before.
But it's all part of their game. I think. Oh,
absolutely.
I think they feed off of that whole vibe of just playing a tough game.
They wouldn't be who they are without it.
Yeah,
but that is why they are so good.
Yeah, you got to take the punches with what they are, which is injuries most likely.
Right.
Yeah, getting your hamstring artificially attached with an exercise band. And
I still can't believe that That
I
is
know.
one of the wildest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
His nickname should be the Rubber Band Man.
Yeah.
Let's get that going on our next battery post. Man.
Yes.
We'll do it.
Facts.
The Rubber Band Man. Yeah.
Mr.
Oh.
Fantastic.
They literally wouldn't have won without him. So
No,
Yeah,
absolutely
he deserves
not.
to be the Rubber Band Man.
he does. Deej, I want to talk a little bit more just about the upcoming matchup on Friday. You know what? Don't worry, Kyle. We will get to. We want to talk Philly, but you know, obviously we do have Woods up first, and I guess you're the most pessimistic sports fan, so I'll be interested to hear your take, especially given how rough of a season it has been for the Woods. So I'm sure you could give a laundry list given how things have gone.
Oh yeah.
But what would you say is the thing that scares you the most about the Cannons this week?
That Zach Tucci is getting hot.
That's a
Because
good
the
one.
offense is good.
Yeah.
So if TD isn't giving us a chance, because that's part of why the Woods games haven't been too bad, is TD is giving them the ball so much that it's hard not to score eventually.
Yeah.
If Zach Tucci's having a game like he had a couple weeks ago against Philly where he's winning more than 60% of the faceoffs, the Woods are doomed. Because we're gonna turn it over. Like we're one of the most turnover prone offenses right now. We're gonna turn it over. We're gonna give Kirsty clean saves, so he's gonna warm up and get hot. Like these are things the Woods do every week. So to have those already lined up, and then Tucci's going off at the stripe, we'll lose by 15. Like it just wouldn't even be fair because it's just opportunity after opportunity going to the Cannons.
I really hope that, boy, to my earlier point about being scared of the Woods being a trap game looking ahead to Philly. Whew, I hope you're right, DJ, that we can just look ahead to Philly, get at halftime, know we have it in the bag, take the foot off the gas, rest up, and then get ready. Because that's the other thing about the homecoming that I feel like is it's so sick to have the games on both days, but having the back-to-back is just brutal. We were at our happy hour last night talking to Jeff Trainer about it. He's like, after one game, I am gassed. Like, I'm dead. They go all out. So the fact that they just have to go right back at it 24 hours later is kind of insane, honestly.
And I mean, they've been performing so well too. I think that's the crazier part is that these teams are doing well in the second half of that back to back, which is crazy in its own right. I think in order for the Cannons to truly have success, they got to come out and punch first. Because I said earlier, like the Redwoods do have very good history, so they're going to be coming into this kind of positive, in my opinion. Like, hey, if we can get it going and really stay on it, we got a chance to beat these guys. But if the Cannons are able to come out first and lay that first punch, it might just be enough to push the Woods over for the day, and they'll be like, well, we'll try again next week. That's kind of the one thing.
Would you say that is kind of the one thing that the Cannons should be focused on? If there was something going into the game that they're like, all right, we need to be concerned about this from the Redwoods, what is it? Is that what you would say it is? Just making sure that they're the ones that land the first punch, or is it something else that they should watch out for?
Not even just the first punch, but just having an answer. And being there, because the Woods are probably going to go on a run or two, but can you answer that? Because if you let them go on a run and then you only score one goal and they start another one, or you don't score and they just keep going, their confidence is only going to grow. And they're going to be like, okay, we can get this one, we can really get back on the roll. But if you throw the first punch, or you have an answer every time, or you throw the first at the game and then the first after half, you're really getting at them and showing if you're going to want to get this win, you're going to have to earn it. And it's really going to be tough if it's an uphill battle the entire time.
All right.
I do think it's going to be interesting at the face-off stripe, especially because the Cannons are one of two teams last year who were kind of just quote-unquote seeding the face-off and kind of getting a grip of what the 32-second offense would be like for the opponent. I'm interested to see how Coach Holman and the whole coaching staff kind of approaches it with Tucci, and not saying like Tucci's going to just like, be a pushover at the stripe to TD, but seeing if they're just like, yeah, let TD win it and let the Woods 32-second offense be a thing. If they score, fine. But if we can hold them and then we get our offense out with a full 52 seconds, then we can kind of get set up the way we want to be.
Yeah. I think they'll be fine either way because on like famous last words, but if there's any team I don't trust in a 32-second offense, it's the Redwoods. And like
clip that.
Yeah, no, please save that. That when TD scores like 6 goals right off the draw.
I'm gonna need that.
Yeah, but because Tucci's also a fantastic athlete and very fast. That I think unless TD specifically wins it right forward and pops to himself like Tucci did on that game winner in Philly, that he'll be able to stall him for a few seconds, and that might really be all you need. Especially because, I think at least in the beginning of the game, the Woods will have to keep it honest and put, Pole and the D-mid out there, or, someone like Nakai or Kolker, so you can go both ways. But, and obviously the Cannons trust themselves in the 32 because they got, the ball movement that they had last year and continuing this year is just insane. And Asher can go one-on-one with everyone except maybe Graham Hossack, but he still had 3 points in that game last week. So
we talked about that on our pod before. We hopped on with you guys that our guy, we love Joe Keegan to death. He's been an OG of our show. He tweeted last week that Graham Hossack's the only long pole that can cover Asher Nolting. I don't think that's the right terminology, really. And that's no slight to Asher, and that's no slight to Graham Hossack. But if you've rewinded one game week to Philly, you guys saw it, I'm sure, from home. We saw it in person. Ben Randall arguably had a better game covering Asher Nolting than Graham Hossack did. And sure, it was Graham Hossack's first game of the year, but there's guys that can cover Asher Nolting. It's a matter of DJ and I both agree. There's generally nobody that can neutralize Asher Nolting.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like it's that combination of like
JT Giles Harris has done it in the past too. And
yeah,
he's arguably one of the best, if not the best defenseman in the league. Like you've seen multiple guys cover Asher. Nobody's going to be able to neutralize him just because of his play style.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the whips was definitely the best game where he was feeding left and right. And I think, maybe some of the reason for those 5-2s is hedging in a little bit and letting Campbell and Drenner be open from up top, which is what excites me so much about this Cannons offense is that if they can dish it inside, obviously Campbell can dodge, Drenner can dodge, Nolting can dodge, Kavanaugh can dodge, and then get that slide, kick it back up top, or either finish inside if the slide's late or whatever, and then kick it back up top to a 2. Like it could just be, bombs away.
Yeah.
Or as Joe Keegan said, the Boston 2s party.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We gotta tie in a better Bunker Hill reference because I know that was the. I think they're firing from Charlestown on Boston though, not Cambridge. I did make a trip.
I don't think we need to get into the nitty gritty details of that.
No, we don't.
Everyone's going to call us out.
Definitely not. I'll have my history nerd friend. I'll text him and ask for some appropriate slogans we could yell out.
Oh, perfect. Guess we want to talk a little bit about Waterdogs. A little bit Boston, Philly.
Dogs are barking again, guys. Who let them get hot?
Yeah.
That's how do you feel, Kyle? You had 3 1-goal losses, 2 in overtime, both homecoming weekend.
I was
then
there.
You get a face-off guy, and now you win a game. And you mentioned that the Cans were one of the teams last year that were testing out, like, let's just let the other team have the ball first. And it's Cans and Waterdogs, those two teams, and those two teams tried it out week 1. Did not go well for either of us. Cannons quickly said, okay, let's get a face-off guy, and have now won 3 games in a row. Waterdogs said, we'll wait for Stathakis. Kept losing. Now they got him. Now you got to win. What do you think happened Saturday? How do you feel?
So I will say I've been on the record a number of times. The face-off situation was not the number one problem for the Water Dogs. Was it a problem specifically in that game against the Cannons in Philly? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the problem against the Whipsnakes? I wouldn't say yes per se. There were a number of other things that led to the Water Dogs unfortunately
Isn't
not
that the
winning that
game
game.
that Nardella went 31 for 31?
Went 31 for 31, but I think they had a better plan going into that game than they did against the Cannons. And the shot Kieran McCardle was on the doorstep for, he makes that 99.9% of the time, and just that 0.1%, he doesn't get the proper angle. Krebs is able to stop it, and then they go down the field. And, of course, Matt Rambo loves to shatter my hopes and dreams all the time. I love you, Matt, but it happens.
Boy.
It's my guy. I love Matt Rambo, but of course it had to happen that way. That's just Matt Rambo things.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about it on our episode, and I talked about it with Wyatt Miller, the Water Dogs beat writer, on our Philly show. The biggest issue was Jack Hanna was missing. Jack Hanna is such a pivotal part of this Water Dogs offense and their creation and what he does to draw defenders away from other guys. And, you know, you saw the no-look pass that he made against the Chaos, made the same exact pass last year as well. His style of play is just so unique. And I know on one-on-ones this week, Paul Rabel said that Jack Hanna is one of the top 3 midfielders in the league, which I think is extremely high praise coming from Paul Rabel. But I think missing Jack Hanna was such a huge hole in the offense, where DJ brought it up. Like, Connor Kelly almost felt like he had to do more than what he's traditionally asked to do from the midfield position. Like, it had this extra pressure that he had to go out and perform offensively, and you saw his shooting numbers were way off. And then against Chaos, he shoots, 2/3% of the shots he made go in the back of the net. It felt like guys were just tense. They were tight. It's a new coach. It's a new coaching staff. Some of them may trying to impress this new coaching staff, and just trying to get a feel of like, okay, how am I going to fit in this new system? Is it different from what, Copeland and his staff had going on? I think there was a lot of factors. I do think Alex Stathakis was extremely, like, what a debut for him. It wasn't, the flashy debut you want, but it was everything you could have hoped for to try and neutralize Nick Rowlett, at the stripe, and kind of just push him back. Like, that final face-off battle going into halftime was
amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Like 20 seconds or so, 25.
It was insane. It was like almost 30 seconds. Like, it almost ate up an entire face-off shot clock. And I think Coach Tierney talked about, like, he did a great job of pushing Nick backwards to where it stalled Chaos's offense a bit. And you saw it. They scored 6 goals. So I don't think the face-off, you look back at those games, sure, they lose by 1 goal every single time. I don't think the face-off was the main contributor outside of that game against the Cannons, where, Tucci ends up going, sicko mode the entire game and scores like crazy. And I think part of it was also on the defense, more specifically on Dylan Ward being able to defend the 2 against you guys specifically, and against the Whipsnakes too. If he stops one of those 2-pointers in both of those games in Philly, we're talking about a 3-1 Water Dogs team rather than a 1-3 Water Dogs team. And Dylan Ward had a great bounce back game against Chaos as well.
Oh yeah,
one of his best games, I think, of his PLL career. It's the little things, and just, one save here, one no-look pass here goes your way. I think a lot of people just had the easy target to go out and say, oh, the Water Dogs don't have a face-off guy, that's why they're losing, because they were the only team for 3 weeks that didn't have one.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think you are right there. It is more complicated than that, especially, like, if you're losing by 1, it wasn't probably 1. I mean, yeah, you could cite one moment, obviously, of it, losing the face-off in overtime, but there were a lot of things that went, like, the Cannons only scored 1 goal in the 4th quarter. as did the Waterdogs, but it wasn't until less than a second to go. Like there's a lot of things that could have happened in that 11 and a half minutes that would have changed the outcome of that game that had nothing to do with the face-off. And you're right, Jack Hanna is such a difference maker. You talked about one pass, one shot. Like Jack Hanna can do both of those very well.
Like he has that physical presence. He's not necessarily astronauting, but he has that similar physical presence to where he can go one-on-one and body somebody up and dominate you just on physicality alone, just like Asher can. And that can't be, not every team has that on their offense. You know, typically you have that as a defenseman or, you know, somebody on the back end. But if you have somebody who can do that offensively, and if you have somebody like Asher or Jack who can, you know, move up and down the field the way they do, especially at their size, that's a game changer and something that every coach in the league wishes they had.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he is, I mean, I got to think he's only going to be better week 2. You know, with another set of game reps, another set of practices under his belt, and playing for the coach he played for in college. I got to think that he feels very comfortable in that offense, that system that Tierney runs. He's one of the people I'm most scared about. You know, Sowers and McCardle obviously get a lot of the attention, but Jack Hanna can really do it all. He's another guy like Drenner that you just know he's going to do whatever he needs to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough to beat a team twice in a season in any sport, maybe outside of baseball because it's series based, but when you look at, you know, when you're playing one singular team on a singular day and then playing them again later in the year, you're playing a completely different team 90% of the time. And that's going to be the case in this game. You know, the Waterdogs are going to have Stathakis at the stripe. They're going to have Jack Hanna in the lineup. And their offense was just more fluid against the Chaos too, I think, with Jack back in the lineup. And I brought this up on our show as well. Like, it's no slight to Matt Brandau. I think he has a long-term, like, successful trajectory in the PLL, but he was playing out of position. They had him playing the midfield. He's not a midfielder, and there's just no – it's similar, you know, Pat Cav almost, where, like, it was a long-term investment pick for the Waterdogs with Brandau. But him playing out of position, like, you could tell he was playing out of position and he wasn't as effective. You take him out of the lineup and that uncomfortability, you put Jack Hanna in, who's comfortable in this offensive system with this team as a whole. You saw the offense look a lot more fluid and a lot more comfortable. The only person that, like, I'm hoping gets a little more comfortable is Ethan Walker. After the year he had last year, where it was like, wow, he stepped up into, like, this elite, you know, attackman, and he's no longer coming out of the box. He's, you know, pure attackman now, playing alongside Michael Sowers and Kieran and being like the third star on that offense. Hasn't really come to fruition yet, which is kind of weird because he also played for Coach Tierney at Denver. And you'd think, you know, somebody who could easily fit into the mold of what Coach Tierney and his staff is trying to do, it would be somebody like Ethan Walker. So I'm hoping, you know, some wheels start to turn, especially now that Jack is back and how close he and Jack are just off the field alone. Things will start to cook for Ethan Walker a little bit, because if he gets going too, like, you know, we've seen this Waterdogs team win a championship. Went to another championship last year. They have guys all across and up and down that offense that they can score from anywhere. And we haven't even brought up somebody like Jake Carraway who can shoot from range. You want to talk about somebody who's kind of like Ryan Drenner, can shoot from range, you know, more so than Drenner does, but can also get in close and score on you inside. There's a ton of options that it's going to be interesting this second go around against the Cannons to see how things go. And, you know, it's the new age PLL rivalry. Obviously, Whips and Redwoods was the original rivalry. But over the course of, you know, less than a calendar year, Waterdogs Cannons has truly turned into something special with the PLL.
Yeah, definitely.
Austin,
These
Philly.
two games are the ones that I want the Cannons to win the most. Being, you know, the week 3 matchup in Philly and then this one. And, you know, who knows, maybe they meet a third time in the playoffs. That would be, I mean, that would probably be the PLL's best game of the year, no matter where in the, I mean, the championship game, I'm sure will be great, but, like, no matter where in the playoffs they meet, that would be ratings gold.
I mean, look at every big game those two teams have played against each other. It's also ironic that they're the two expansion teams of the PLL era. That they have become like the rivals, but, like, that playoff game on Long Island last year kind of really, like, sparked the flame more so than anything. And then you look at what happened at Champ Series and this first game this season, like, these two teams don't like each other.
No.
And it's very evident, and that's good for the league. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
You want to see you don't want to see a league that is so small just feel like it's buddy and all this kind of stuff. You want teams to fucking hate each other.
Yeah.
And it's very evident that the Waterdogs and the Cannons from top to bottom hate each other.
Yeah, we were staying in the same hotel as all the league for Champ Series. And after the championship game, Jack, I think you were still here for this. We saw Christian Scarpello talking to Matt Palem, really laying into the Cannons.
Sowers was there too, I think, right?
Wasn't he? It was Sowers and Scarpello just saying. I believe he used the word scumbags for the Cannons play in that game. And
I love Christian Scarpello, man. You want to talk about somebody who just does everything you want from a short stick D-midi perspective.
Oh yeah.
And is just gritty and will do the dirty work for you, and will also just like bark back at anybody, no pun intended, that comes in his way. It's Christian Scarpello, and it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, he's a guy that, I mean, it's hard for me to be a fan of the Philly guys now, but he is a dude that I've absolutely loved watch play the whole time he's been in the league. And
that's what kills me about like the cities thing too.
Yeah,
I genuinely like every single person I've come in contact with on the Boston Cannons roster, from Coach Holman to Kyle Hartzell, all the way down the roster. You know, Ryan Drenner is one of my guys through and through, no matter where he plays. And like Marcus Holman has been nothing but great to us. Like the list goes on and on with everybody on that roster. I just hate that you guys are from Boston.
Yeah, likewise. I know I've said this. I liked Philly because I liked the expansion team, that like underdog thing. But once they became Philly, I just flipped. I was like, I don't like Michael Sowers anymore. I can't. I'm sorry.
I love Michael Sowers. Like, just as like a person too, and just seeing like how his family has really taken to, like, they are Waterdogs super fans.
Yeah.
Like from Philly homecoming weekend, like they were out tailgating with the K9 crew.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, you guys are out here, we're out. Why don't we just tailgate together? And it just became this like super tailgate. And it's really cool seeing like the players, like families, like really integrate with the supporter groups and everything. I hope that happens for you guys this weekend too.
I think it will. I think the Holman Ost clan they had a huge contingent in Carolina, and I believe they're all coming to Harvard, as you'd expect they would.
Yes.
So I think there'll be a good number of people in our section, and I think we'll definitely connect with them pregame and get things going.
Trainer's gonna have the whole.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be Jeff Trainer's family running the show.
Our section is sold out, so like that the stadium itself is gonna be packed.
That's what I'm intrigued about too, because like I circled your guys' homecoming weekend. Obviously, Philly, like Villanova was packed to the gills, and it was awesome. And DJ said it on our show after that weekend, like it was the first time that it really felt like a team's home game. So I'm intrigued to see like how that how it plays out for another like big sports market like Boston.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that, especially with the Cannons having such a long legacy in the city and in Harvard Stadium specifically.
Yeah,
I really could not be more excited. I hope we see a couple wins. I don't think so. I do think the Dogs are going to get us in game 2.
No.
For the factors that you've mentioned and just the exhaustionness of it. I wish that was game 1, but
I did find it interesting that I brought this up to Coach Holman after last week's game, and I said, with the doubleheader on deck for you guys, like what are you kind of preparing for, and how much did Champ Series kind of prepare you for playing the back-to-backs? And he's like, I never thought of that. Thanks for giving me something to look at and really, dive into. And I'm shocked that obviously I'm kind of removing the Waterdogs from that for a sense, because Coach Tierney wasn't coaching the team, but Sweet Lou is there and he knows how it operated. So I'm intrigued to see like how the Champ Series teams from this year kind of calculate their homecoming weekends and everything. But he said that like from everyone he's talked to, whether it's coaches or players, like it seems like an overwhelming majority is that the players prefer the doubleheader. And they like playing the back-to-back because it gives them an opportunity to build chemistry together and kind of just playing on a more consistent level, even though it's only 2 days. But instead of waiting an entire week or having a bye week in between, like some of these teams have had, where it kind of stalls your momentum a little bit with your team one way or another. You're playing back to back with each other and kind of learning each other's nuances in a game environment. And a lot of the players enjoy that factor of the homecoming weekend.
That's a really interesting point, because obviously these guys are not together during the week, that they're showing up in market on the weekend and having one practice, and it really is more of a walkthrough because you've got the game the next day. So that's, I hadn't thought about that, and it is interesting. You say Bill Tierney wasn't there, and so obviously Archers and Redwoods also haven't had their homecomings yet. So the Cannons are sort of that first one to, I guess, have that experience of the back-to-backs and how does that play out. But just like Holman thing too, I'm also thanking you. I had not thought about that at all, and I'm going to be really intrigued.
That's why Champ Series, like a lot of people underestimate the value of Champ Series for like the little nuance things. And I'm not saying like we do, but like there's fans out there that are like, oh, this isn't, regular lacrosse. What does it matter to me? There's some factors there that you could utilize if you're a coach specifically to be like, okay, how do we best prepare our team for a situation like this?
Definitely. Yeah, I think year one I wasn't as big of a fan of it, but they really saw. I mean, obviously being there in person helped, and the Cannons being there helped. Like last year, we weren't in it,
and winning. Too. I mean, I was fully sold on it after this year.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, I mean, I think pretty good likelihood that they'll be back in the top 4 of the standings next year. But
I'm intrigued what the reception of the New York Atlas is going to be in Boston.
I think pretty negative. They're not playing the Cannons, which will help.
That's why I'm intrigued, because they're not playing the Cannons per se.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering what a New York team playing in Boston's reception is going to be. And if it turns into that second game and it's a night game too, if the crowd turns into an Outlaws crowd.
Yeah, I'll certainly be pulling for them. Both because it's an Eastern Conference team, and the Cannons have a chance of being the number 1 seed if the Atlas lose and the Cannons win both games. So I will definitely be. I just can't bring myself to root for a New York team. No, if
the UV Atlas.
Yeah, when you guys play, when it's New York Philly, that'll be interesting. I think that'll just depend on where the standings are at the time. No, you haven't played yet, right? The Atlas and Dogs haven't played yet.
No, first time will be in San Diego.
Okay,
for Redwoods homecoming weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. So that's in about a month, 3 weeks.
End of the month,
and then they play in Salt Lake.
Okay.
So the last weekend.
So we'll have a good sense. I imagine the Dogs will probably be on a bit of a heater by then, because they'll really be.
That'd be nice.
Settled in. We'll see.
Does it feel like you guys almost have like 3 consecutive home games per se? Because you have your homecoming weekend, then All-Star happens, and then the following weekend is quote unquote neutral site game in Fairfield.
Yeah. I mean, I think there'll be a pretty good mix of Cannons, Atlas, and Waterdogs fans there. And then I'm sure there are because Connecticut doesn't have a team. I'm sure they'll be I'm going with my friend to that game who's a Woods fan. I'm sure there'll be fans of other teams, especially Whips too. But I certainly hope that I'll try to get.
And it is Cannons, Atlas, and Fairfield.
Yeah. Well, that'll be a fun game.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah. Hopefully, they figured out how to make Xander Dixon not catch the ball and score every single time.
Yeah, I think the world will end before that happens. That dude's good, man.
Yeah, he's very good at catching the ball when you don't realize he's standing behind you right in front of the goal.
Yeah.
Slim Reaper.
Yep.
Hey.
What Cannons do you think are going to make the All-Star game?
So, I mean, Campbell's got to lead the league in twos at this point. I think he's the biggest lock. Probably Asher too, although so many of the stars are attackmen that it's tough. But he is up there in points. I mean, Apple's got good name recognition. I was trying to think of the goalies, and I think Kirst has a shot because they have a winning record, and that obviously helps. You think it's 2 goalies in the East. I feel like Troutner still has to go, even though he had a bit of a down game against the Whips. And then for a second goalie, between Kirst, Ward, and Peyton Krebs, I feel like Kirst has had the best showing so far out of those 3.
Yeah.
Tucci, obviously he had that amazing game. I certainly voted for him, but I don't know. People are probably still going to vote for Baptiste and Nardella for him. which is too bad. Marcus,
D-Man?
I think Marcus will be there as a name recognition
yeah,
type
Yeah.
of thing.
and he does win the accuracy shooting every single time.
Yeah, plus
does.
his wife is going to be there too because the Women's
yeah,
Unleashed
that'd be
are gonna
nice.
be
Right.
participating as well.
Yeah.
I would love to see Ryan Drenner be an all-star. I'll say
Yeah.
that. I think he deserves it. He's played he is one of those guys, and Deej and I have talked about this all the time. Like, he's one of those guys that just flies under the radar, but then when you go and look at his stats, they're just so good. And Matt Campbell's kind of in that territory too, but because Matt Campbell consistently is hitting like twos and everything, especially this year, he's more prolific almost. But those two guys, just go about their business. They're quiet. Coach Holman said in the press conference last week when Matt gave his opening statement, he's like, I think this is the most I've ever heard Matt Campbell talk in one sitting.
Yeah, I mean, all he wants to do is shoot, and he's real good at it. So that's all we wanted to keep doing. But yeah, I think he's the biggest lock, I think, and then probably Nolting or Holman afterward, just because the league kind of pushes them as stars, but also they deserve the reputation as stars.
Yeah,
and then I do think Kirst is probably the best case for all-star goalie, and then and we'll see after that. It's only I guess it's between the four teams of the East. So, well, I'm sure Jack and I will do an all-star episode leading into next week, but just who would you expect from the Dogs? I mean, I would think McCardle and Sowers.
Kieran, Michael Sowers. I genuinely think Ben Randall deserves an all-star nod. He has been fantastic for them and arguably their best defenseman. I think it might just be those three. There might be a push for Dylan Ward, just off that name recognition almost. But I do agree with you. I think Kirsty has earned a nod as an all-star. It's tough because when you start 0-3, a lot of people sour on you in the general populace of oh, this team stinks. Why do they deserve so many all-stars? So then it kind of defers to Kieran and Sowers. I think Zach Currier will probably get in as well. And I think, I don't know if he'll get in, but I think Matt Witcher also deserves an all-star nod for sure. And I think DJ would cape for that any day of the week. He loves Matt Witcher. And he's played extremely well and deserves that recognition, because I think he's another one of those guys that flies under the radar, but does everything and then some that's asked of him. Even if it's going to the face-off stripe and taking face-offs in a group collective and going over. I think he also deserves a nod for sure.
Yeah, I'm such a fan of him as well. It feels like every time he scores, it's either to take a lead in the fourth quarter or to break a tie or tie the game up, just a backbreaker and such a juice goal.
And it's weird because he does it wearing white socks and black cleats, and we all know that's anti-drip.
Yeah, it's pretty cringe, Matt.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Jeff Trainer does that too.
I was just about to say.
It's weird.
My boy, our boy. Jeff
Those two
Trainer.
guys are breaking the system, and it's what are we doing here, boys? Can we get some white? It's weird it's even weirder for the Cannons because they have no black in their logo.
Yeah, the black and the navy.
It not only does it stick out because they don't have black, but it's also the navy black.
Even clashes so bad.
Go together. Period. Jeff, could you at least put on navy cleats if you want to do that?
If you want to have a different contrarian colored cleat, at least match your jersey.
Navy,
or red cleats. That'd be sick.
That would be. Now we're cooking.
But that would actually be cool.
Yeah,
because
that's something Ryan Drenner should do.
The black cleat white sock is just what are you doing? So I think a dark navy would be the appropriate choice of footwear if you want that sort of vibe.
Or be normal and just go get yourself a nice pair of white cleats.
Yeah,
it looks so clean. Deej, what do you think? Any all-stars on the Woods?
I think Jack Kelly has a solid shot. He's played really well between the pipes. You just see so many shots that might defer him. Westberg should have a solid shot, but I think wins might hold him back. but he does have a solid amount of points. I think Garrett Degnan has been great out of the midfield.
Yeah.
He should have a shot, but he's also going up against some tough midfielders when you look at the Western Conference. So that's kind of up against him. But I really think our best options are TD at the stripe. He's been great. And then our LSMs have actually been really good. More specifically, Jared Connors. He's been fantastic. So I think those two are true best shots at getting anybody in. But I put more money on TD than anyone else.
Yeah, I agree. He also has pretty good name recognition.
I'd be a little stunned if Westberg doesn't make the All-Star team.
I want to say that, but look at the other attackmen in the West. The Archers could post their whole attack line. I guess it wouldn't necessarily be their attack line, but you would just put Grant Ament there. There's 3 right there, and then you could do the same thing with Chaos. You drop their whole attack line. You can't tell me BO's not going to be an all-star. So it's already limited down at attack when you think about who's in the West and how productive they've been. Like Josh Burns. Josh Burns almost a lock.
Justin, yes.
Brennan O'Neal's a lock.
Yeah.
So there's basically 1 or 2 spots left at attack. And how are you putting him over Mac O'Keefe, Connor Fields, Grant Ament if they allow him to play attack?
I forget with the PLL, is it almost like baseball where each team has to have one player, or is it just?
I don't think so.
Because obviously, I agree, TD's going to get in, but
I don't think there's a rule, because especially now that they have the conferences, I feel like it would be insane if one of 4 teams couldn't.
That would be wild.
They probably haven't even. Maybe they've thought about it, but I can't imagine that they were like, "There's no need to put."
Plus, we've seen in the past guys drop out of the All-Star game too to just rest. So
but exactly. I would imagine they thought about it, but they went, honestly, if a team doesn't get votes, it's probably because they're bad. So get better. If you aren't getting any votes out of 4 teams to get at least one guy out there, you're playing bad.
There's a reason.
So you need to get better. I don't think there should be a clause in there. There isn't a clause in any other All-Star. You're either good or you're not. So let's not outside of baseball that way,
And hockey.
I mean,
baseball and hockey, you have to have at least one player from each.
But there's always it's an easy option too. Arguably with this Redwoods team, if you took TD off of it, you would kind of go, I guess we can go this guy. But there's an argument to put somebody else from any of the 3 other teams above those guys except TD.
Yeah.
So it's TD's the lock, but outside of that, you just got to get better.
Yeah.
Pessimism is definitely shining through.
All right. I think pessimism is a great note to end it on. We've been going for quite a while here.
I have one last one. Does the Cannons mascot return?
I want
They've been
Boomer
posting
back.
him like crazy.
I know.
I want Boomer back. We have had talks with the PLL. I don't think Boomer is coming back, unfortunately. What we have heard is that he looks. I don't.
He needs a
what's
little
the rate
facelift
on this show?
I mean, I try not to swear. I know Coach Holman said a few profanities, but
Well, an appendage, a rather not soft one, I suppose, is what the PLL told us that he looked like, and so they are afraid to bring.
So he needs a facelift
back
a little bit.
Yeah, we need to figure something.
We need to make the mascot kind of look like the Throwback Weekend logo that was on the jerseys.
Yeah, like a cannonball.
Yeah, if it was a ball instead of the cannon, maybe. That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah. All right.
We need all the teams that have
podcast so she can.
We really do. Philly should just have an actual dog, like
I mean, Chaz.
Oh,
the league.
Oh yeah.
Can the Woods just buy Smokey the Bear? Can we just bring him to all the games? I think
only you can prevent 2 bombs.
Only you
I
can go
love
out
it.
and lose a bunch of no.
Oh,
All right, that's
you
definitely an
guys gonna
off-season
be?
episode is PL mascots.
Yeah.
Yes. Count us
Are you
in.
guys gonna be in Boston?
We will not be in
Not this
Boston.
weekend. We will be there for playoffs.
We will have a photographer in Boston.
Okay.
Evan Sales, who photographed our live show and all of our Philly photos, will be in Boston taking photos for us. So we'll let him
Send
know
him
where
our
your guys'
way.
section is.
Great.
So
We
he can
are
grab some.
going to be right behind the Cannons bench.
Cool. I'll let him know to zoom in on your shining faces.
I'm sure.
I will be in
Appreciate it.
Fairfield though.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Don't get a media job. It takes up some of your weekends. I'm working a Michael Jackson Experience concert that weekend.
Boy.
So I had plans to be at Fairfield, and they got snipped on.
We'll just get a media job with the league that you want
there you
to like participate in. So
Yeah, I've been telling him I'm gonna hang it up here soon and give Mike a call.
yeah.
Shout out to Mike
Perfect.
Rabel. His wife just had their second baby.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Congrats.
Congratulations to them.
I was like, of course, the breaking news happens after we record our actual episode. But
Always. It is
so
a
you guys
staple of
you
being
guys
on
got the
OTB.
scoop.
Yeah.
He did tweet the
There we
photo
go.
and everything, but yeah, congrats to the Rabels.
Absolutely.
Congrats. Yeah. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Enjoy homecoming weekend, boys.
Yeah.
It's a blast. Like the two that we've been to have like progressively gotten better, and what we watched in Charlotte from home was really awesome. So bring it and enjoy it, and can't wait to see everything go down through my TV screen, obviously, but looking forward to another homecoming weekend with the PLL.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be sick.
Yeah, the PLL has done a great job. You know, you guys have obviously know firsthand from being on a couple, but just on the TV screen, it has been so obvious to me who the home team is every weekend. So I'm just like giddy with excitement at the thought of Harvard being dripped out in Cannons. I can't wait. Like
I'm intrigued too, because Chaos and the Waterdogs both had banners showcasing like their championships running across some of the bleachers and everything, and the fences that said like the year and then PLL champs. I'm intrigued if they're going to do it for the Cannons, especially with the championship series.
MLL, yeah.
They definitely got to bring back those 2011 banner. They used to have a huge one like on that Ivy wall.
Yeah.
Back in the day, that would be
because the branding's
they bring that thing back. Whew.
Yeah. We should already know the answer to that, honestly, if they are.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued if they do anything for the championship series title, because it would be you guys and the Outlaws.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, you know, just a little note, maybe. You know, what was it? You know, like the Bruins have the President's Trophy banner where each Stanley Cup gets its own banner, but the President's Trophy is just one banner with all the years listed. Maybe it's like just a smaller version. Like they'll have the big banner and then basically a footnote. Hey, we won Champ Series 2.
It's always a blast chopping it up with you boys.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for having us back on. Thanks for hopping on our show as well, and we'll definitely do it again soon.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you both for coming on. And all right, I think Jack and I will just flip it over to the next segment here.
Oh man, it's always so great talking to those guys. I love those boys.
Yeah, I know. They're
always a lot of fun. And, oh man, I'm just so jacked for homecoming.
I'm so excited.
I don't even know what to say right now because I just can't believe it's finally here. I literally feel like a kid on Christmas. It's Christmas in July. That's what this is right now. The Cannons are back. They're in Boston. It's at Harvard Stadium. 4th of July weekend. Happy birthday, America. It's today, actually. Excuse me, because we're recording this on July 3rd, but it's coming out. You're listening to it July 4th. So happy birthday, America. Jesus, thank you for discovering the country. And then tomorrow we have the Cannons. Like, this might be the greatest weekend of my life.
All right, that's a bit it's a bit bold, but it's going to be a fantastic weekend for Boston sports. Cannons are the only one in town, but the Red Sox are playing the Yankees, so the rare moments that you're not watching lacrosse this weekend, go root on the guys down in the Bronx, but as in root on the Red Sox while they're in the Bronx. Don't root for the Yankees.
No.
If you support the Yankees, you're not allowed to listen to this.
Honestly,
that's actually in our terms of service.
Yeah, honestly, like just take a break from baseball for the weekend. Just stay in Boston and watch lacrosse. We have a Boston lacrosse team playing 2 games
Against
weekend
Philadelphia,
in
who I
Boston.
hate almost as much as New York.
And Cali. I mean, you know, you got the Celtics, Lakers. Like,
Yeah,
we don't East Coast, West Coast rivalry there.
absolutely.
Like, just stay here, Boston. Boom, baby, let's do it.
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely tickets still available. I think our section is sold out, but Harvard Stadium is a fantastic venue. Plenty of good sight lines. Really not a bad seat in the house, and it's going to be some amazing lacrosse. Let me just remind myself of the other 2 games that the Cannons are not playing in. So Cannons Woods opens the weekend, which I think will be a fantastic appetizer. And then we've got, the team that we definitely love to hate in the New York Atlas taking on the Outlaws, the Denver Outlaws. I think just, the Boston, New York, the Atlas leading the standings, 2 East Coast teams, got to root for the Outlaws in that one. Saturday, first game is Archers and Whip Snakes, which again, I'm definitely pulling for the Archers because, I think the Whips got a lot of hate when they won the first 2 championships. And again, being an East Conference rival with the Cannons, got to pull for the Archers, rather, the defending champs in that one. And then we close it off with Cannons Waterdogs, which is for sure the most anticipated game of the weekend. They're really making us wait for that. We talked about it for an hour, but could not be more excited for that game. As excited, maybe even more than I was for the week 3 matchup. We'll see if Tucci can repeat his success. If Campbell's going to keep slinging it from deep. If McCardles and Sowers explode again. There's just so many stories to be excited about. We really cannot wait. We hope we see, if you listen to this podcast, I assume you're a fan of the Cannons, and I assume you live pretty close to Boston. Like, you better be coming to the games, right? Like, at least one of them. Like, if you got, I understand you go away for the weekend, you got some plans, but like, come on, leave Saturday morning.
What is more? Oh, it's 4th of July weekend. What is more patriotic than Boston and Philly?
Lacrosse, the most American sport, the sport that was
North America's first sport, and the 2 most American cities facing off.
The city where the revolution started and the city where the Declaration was signed. Like, it doesn't get more America than that.
If we win, do we get the Declaration of Independence?
I think that is actually, that is in the PLL contract. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So
sweet.
Philly, you got a lot to play for. You've had it for the last 250 years or so, but clock's ticking.
Oh, let's do it, baby. Let's go.
All right. I think that's all we need. I mean, we've already gone on for a little longer, but we're just both so excited. So happy 4th of July to everyone. We really, really hope we see you July 5th and 6th. If not, if you're on the Cape or, you don't live in New England, please put that game on your TV. It's going to be must-see television, absolutely, for any lacrosse fan. And we'll come at you Monday, recap these games. Hopefully 2 big Cannons wins. But until we see you in person on Friday, go Cannons.
Go Cannons, baby. Boom.
Boom.